Hello everyone, back to today's third video. We're having a look at the weather next week to 10 days. Today's third video going to include all the usual features. So it can take us into the first week of May. We'll be able to extend out beyond that though with the extended GFS and ECM on Sunday. We'll have a look at CFSV2 at the end of video for the next month. Been a busy old day of updates so far, so we started off with the second seasonal model roundup for the summer of 2019. That's getting 13 long-range models together, seeing what they're all showing for the summer. That video is here on the homepage at gazmobiles.com. Just scroll down and you'll find it above the pollen count. Later on, that video will be placed on the summer updates forecast page, and there'll be an extensive written report that goes with it as well. Also, release weekend forecast, so that's your detailed week ahead, look ahead, and it's starting off pretty stormy with Storm Hannah, but things will be improving in the next few days. Have a look at that, see what's going on. Tonight, we're going to have the fourth update for the May Day Bank Holiday weekend, so a really busy weekend of updates this weekend. Hope you're enjoying them all. Right, so I'll start off with the 500 millibar height on the flowcharts for the next week to 10 days from the Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS, which I'll look at in a moment, is on the bottom, 500 millibars. 80,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere where high pressure and low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Red extrapolates high pressure blue to low pressure. In the 7 to 10 day time frame, you can see the ECMWF is placing an area of above average heights to the south and southeast of the country, with below average heights, low pressure in the middle of the Atlantic. The flow of the jet's doing something like that, so it's breaking down that ridge really in the 7 to 10 day time frame, possibly turning a little bit more unsettled, particularly so for northern and western parts of the country. It would, however, be quite mild, maybe even fairly warm, with the winds pushing up from a southwesterly or even southerly direction. This is the GFS, and if anything, it looks even drier and warmer. So the below average heights are there in the Atlantic, but they're in the mid-Atlantic actually. And we find ourselves under this ridge of high pressure that is sitting over and to the east of the country. So obviously that's going to be bringing up southerly winds. So that implies in the 7 to 10 day time frame with the GFS, we could be seeing temperatures really pushing up actually there, possibly going into the low or even mid-20s Celsius, with winds swinging into the south. That will coincide just nicely for the May Day Bank Holiday weekend, of course. GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensemble looking like this. We're looking at Aberdeen today. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Aberdeen, starting off a little bit milder than average right now, and temperatures lifting up actually over the weekend and into next week. It looks like you're going to have quite a warm first week of May. Dates are on the bottom of the chart, of course. Into the second week of May, that's this period just here, temperatures do lower, going back closer to the 30-year average, and also looking quite dry as well, interestingly. So not much in way of precipitation. Really, this recent Scotland, of course, so it is sheltered from the Atlantic, but nevertheless, it looks pretty dry, I have to say, going through the first week of May. So it looks like the models today, after being more unsettled yesterday, the models today have swung back to a drier and milder scenario, perhaps through the first week of May. So many changes for this opening week of May. It really is quite incredible how uncertain it's been within the model output. But this could be the definitive shift towards drier and warmer conditions for the first week of May. This could be the definitive moment that we've been waiting for. Temperature anomalies from the 27th of April to the 5th of May, a little bit warmer than average for Scotland, a little bit cooler than average for England and Wales. That's a bit of a flip around on what you normally expect. You normally expect it to be warmer in the south and colder in the north, but not in this week, 27th of April to the 5th of May, doing things the opposite way. So it's a bit cooler than average down in the south, and it's a bit warmer than average up in the north. Precipitation anomalies are coming out rather drier than average, particularly so for southern and eastern parts of the country. Not a big deviation, but most places looking on the drier side. Right, so this is how the GFS operational run is looking for Tuesday. High pressures to our north and east. Low pressure is coming in from the west. That could bring showery rain into the west on Tuesday. And then those showers could migrate eastwards across to eastern parts of the country on Wednesday. After that, though, heading up towards the Bank Holiday weekend, High pressure building in. This all covered by weekend forecast, of course. High pressure building in through to bank holiday weekend, settling things down and warming things up. Indeed, as we go from Sunday into bank holiday Monday, we find that high pressure slipping over towards the eastern side of Europe, and that starts to drag in much warmer southeast winds. So you could easily envisage temperatures going into the low to possibly mid-20s Celsius there through the May Day bank holiday weekend. In the more extended range, this is day 10, we see that high pressure begins to weaken a little bit, allowing some low pressure in from off the Atlantic. And through the second week of May, really extended range stuff. It does for a while anyway, go a little bit more unsettled, but then there we go, we're back to high pressure again as we get through to the end of the GFS run, which today at 384 hours is a Monday the 13th of May, heading up towards the middle part of the month. This is how the GFS parallel run is looking. So again, Tuesday, we've got that high pressure up to our north and east, but there is a weather system coming in from west, could bring some showery rain to the west. Those showers migrating eastwards by the time you get through to Wednesday. And then through to the end of the week, high pressure increasingly building, particularly across England and Wales. However, looking a little bit more unsettled for Scotland and Northern Ireland there on Saturday, with a little bit more influence from low pressure in the Atlantic, perhaps. That's how bank holiday Monday is looking, starting to try and break down that ridge of high pressure. Low pressure into edge in from off the Atlantic. It's quite a warm air mass though. It'll be lifting temperatures into below 20 Celsius, especially in the south and southeast, but possibly wobbling the atmosphere a bit. Risk of some heavy showers breaking through. That's day 10. It's Tuesday the 7th of May. Low pressure has broken through them. Winds have turned into west, and it's cooler and more showery. I'm heading to the extended range with a parallel GFS run. That's how we look. Rather changeable, actually. Much more so with the parallel compared to the operational run. So we're into the second week of May, although the operational GFS did go a little bit unsettled for a time through that second week of May. But I think the parallel is more unsettled still for the second week of May, and rather cooler too. ECMWF has us under a ridge of high pressure to our northeast on Tuesday, but a weather system bringing showers to the west. Some of those showers could migrate eastwards on Wednesday. After that, for the second half of next week, we'll try and build up some high pressure. However, we've got low pressure over Scandinavia, trying to introduce a northerly wind. It's a very complicated pattern as we head into the bank holiday weekend, but overall we keep that northerly shot over Scandinavia and up to our northeast. Actually, for us in the UK, we're close to high pressure just to our south and southeast, pulling up quite warm southerly winds. Although we have got quite a bit of low pressure in the Atlantic. We saw it on the height anomaly flow charts for Penn State University. As we get towards day 10, it is turning more unsettled with low pressure moving in from off the Atlantic. So that's not quite so good for the May Day bank holiday weekend. So overall, still a lot of questions here about this first week of May, and particularly bank holiday weekend period. It is causing so many problems at the moment, this early May period. But I think probably we are looking at a reasonable amount of dry weather, certainly up to the May Day bank holiday weekend anyway. These are the options that we've got on the table from the ECM ensembles at day 10, which is the 7th of May. So we've got 26 out of 51 ECM ensemble members that have low pressure in the Atlantic to our northwest. This is from the Icelandic Met Office, by the way. We've got low pressure to our north and west. High pressure is to our south and southeast. This includes the operational and the control ECM run. The operational ECM being the run that we're just looking at, of course. So these was rather unsettled actually at day 10, bringing in winds from westerly direction. And then we've got 25, so it's almost a 50-50 split. We've got 25 members of the ECM ensembles with a ridge of high pressure over top of UK. Obviously, that's going to be a drier and warmer scenario there on the 7th of May. So almost 50-50 split between a drier, warmer option or a cooler and more unsettled option. Bear in mind the control and the operational ECM runs go with that cooler and more unsettled cluster. These are the options that are on the table in 2 weeks' time, 12th of May. So we've got 20 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure to our north, high pressure to our south. They're bringing in a flat westerly flow. We've got 14 that have a trough of low pressure over top of UK. Obviously, they're very unsettled. We've got 9 that have high pressure out to our west, low pressure to our east, northeast. They're reasonably settled, but quite chilly. Winds are in from the northwest. And then we've got 8 that look very unsettled, below average heights in from the Atlantic into the UK. Jet streams going through like that with westerlies. Obviously, they're pretty unsettled too. So those 8 just there, with those 14 just there, they're the more unsettled options that we've got. And then we've got the 20 just here and the 19 just there. There are slightly more settled scenario, although this one, these 20 here, they would be unsettled, particularly for northern western parts of the country. Does look rather mixed, rather changeable, I think, as we're going into the second week of May. Finally, just have a look at CFSV2 before we go. These are 500 millibar heights, and I broke it down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 27th of April to the 3rd of May. And the coming week is going to have high pressure up to our north and northeast. Low pressure is out in the Atlantic. So a reasonable amount of dry weather and quite warm too. Winds are coming in from an east or southeasterly direction. Week 2 is the 4th to, let's highlight it, it's the 4th. Can't get highlighter working. There we go. It's the 4th through to the 10th of May. And we take the above average heights away to our northwest, and we start to allow in some low pressure underneath it. So that one's turning more unsettled, and it's relatively cool as well. The winds will be pushing down from a northeasterly type direction. Week 3 looks genuinely unsettled. This is the 11th to the 17th of May, with trough of below average heights, trough of low pressure in the 500 millibar flow over the UK. So the flow and the jet will be going something like that. That's a genuinely unsettled period in the second week of May. But then go through to week 4, it'll change again. This is the 18th to 24th of May, with above average heights coming back to our east and northeast, below average heights being pushed down to the south, and obviously that's going to be much warmer, bringing winds up from a southeasterly direction. This is looking like a rather mixed May at the moment, looking rather changeable. Nothing too dramatic, but it certainly looks like we're rather up and down with both pressure and temperature and precipitation. I think next week we're focusing increasingly on high pressure building through the country as the week goes on, so it should be settling down next week and getting warmer as well, taking us into what could be, at least at the start, quite a warm and dry spell for the early part of the May Day Bank Holiday weekend. Anyway, it may deteriorate through the May Day Bank Holiday weekend, but I think that deterioration is probably more likely after the May Day Bank Holiday weekend. Second week of May, possibly looking a little bit dodgy, looking a little bit unsettled, and then maybe beyond that, back to high pressure and warm conditions once again. We shall see all about that as we go through the next few days. Right, that's your third video done and dusted. We'll be back tonight with your fourth update for the May Day Bank Holiday weekend. That will be focusing specifically on the May Day Bank Holiday weekend. So that's will be with you tonight. We'll also be placing the second seasonal Muller Roundup for the summer of 2019 onto the summer updates forecast page with a written summary as well. Don't forget, check out Weekend Forecast. It was released earlier on today, as always on a Saturday. Tomorrow we're going to have Gaz Weather's Sunny Roundup, and we'll have loads of summer analogues too. They're back after being laid off last week for Solar Sunday. We're back to the summer updates tomorrow. So just keep checking back to the website for all of the updates. We never stop at Gaz Weathers, we just keep the updates coming. So keep checking back. And that's all for now though. Thanks for watching.